Hello, you're watching a new edition of News Hour with me, James Chow. We're Friday lunchtime and we've got 60 minutes of all the latest coming right up. We'll start off with this. China's financial authorities have unveiled new rules that will guide the pilot scheme for cross-border trade to be settled in its own RMB currency. Now, back in April, the central government selected 5 cities to take part in the first trial areas here on the mainland. The financial hub of Shanghai is on that list, along with 4 cities in the southern province of Guangdong. Meanwhile, the trial areas outside the mainland are the special administrative regions of Hong Kong and Macau, as well as ASEAN countries. According to the regulations, export companies that use the RMB to settle trade transactions will be able to enjoy tax rebates or even a tax exemption. Export firms will also be able to deposit RMB revenues gained from exports in banks outside the mainland. China's central bank says there's no particular threshold for pilot companies, but that they should have good credit and assets.
The basic idea of the pilot scheme is to provide convenience for settlement in RMB and also to erase restrictions we originally employed to limit the use of RMB in cross-border trade. So it will enable us to follow internationally common practices and conduct cross-border trade settlements in RMB.
Well, that pilot scheme, making it possible for cross-border trade to be settled in RMB, is seen as a major step in the Chinese currency's bid to go global. But during that process, experts warn that the RMB has to face a variety of challenges, among them the independence of monetary policies, currency stability, and also the impact of the flow of international capital. But China's central bank says there won't be likely any huge amounts of capital inflow nor outflow during this pilot stage. Zheng Siwei reports.
The internationalization of a local currency means other countries and regions will accept the currency without conditions. That means the country can get products and services across the world based on its credit and by issuing notes. But of course, the globalized currency must be stable and should have a strong economy behind it to support it. Experts say using the RMB as a settlement currency, at least for now, still has a variety of challenges.
China's in trade surplus now, but we have to accept trade deficits to let other countries and regions gain the RMB. By doing so, the RMB could become a regional currency. But there's potential risks if foreign countries hold too much RMB.
China's central bank has responded to some of the concerns by economists. It says it will determine potential problems through pilot scheme process and draw practical experience. For example, it says the problem of an RMB shortage outside the Chinese mainland can be resolved by currency exchanges or by financing overseas businesses through mainland financial institutions. The central bank says it will also pay great attention to the risks of capital flow and steer clear of huge amounts of capital inflow and outflow. Zheng Siwei, CCTV.
Well, the head of Hong Kong's monetary authority said Thursday that the pilot scheme is another milestone in RMB business for the special administrative region. He said its development has strategic importance and offers a much wider scope of mobility for RMB funds between Hong Kong and the Chinese mainland. Joseph Yan believes the RMB could finally become a regional and even a global currency, given the fast-growing economy here on the Chinese mainland. As such, Hong Kong is preparing for more RMB transactions in the near future. Now, for more on that story, I spoke earlier to Professor Xiao Geng, who's the head of the Brookings Tsinghua Center for Public Policy. He gave his take on the settlement scheme and his view on its significance, benefits and risks.
It's very significant in the sense that this is the first step for RMB to become an international currency, and it creates in the short run demand and also supply for RMB outside of China. The risk is actually once exchange rate becomes unstable, then we will get a lot of capital flows, inflows and outflows, and people trying to hedge exchange rate risks. Well, I think it's going to take a few years, maybe not more than 10 years. The reason is that we already have current account opened. But for capital account, it's important for the financial systems in China to be able to deal with cross-border capital flows. And that means that we need to have very healthy banks and the capital markets. and we are still a bit away from that.